The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hi, this is Mia Mosinzia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based upon a real-life relationship, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon. Do read it. I'm sure you'll love it. It's www.miamosinzia.com and www.amazon.com/miamosinzia.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by well-known award-winning author Mia Mosinzia of No Time for Love called Missing, an extraordinary relationship between two ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and the ones you love would be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and other retailers. Available on all formats today. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com or over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Amazon Audible, coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. Also worldwide on Geo 7, Radio Public, Himalaya, CastBox, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful author who was born and educated in rural England and developing a very vivid imagination as a child, many hours alone. And along her journey, she moved halfway around the world in 2002 to live and work in California, attending the New York Film Academy, working in Hollywood, and joining a writing team in Los Angeles, and also helping and promoting an international film festival. And she's also the author of 3 psychological thrillers, There Are No Accidents, The Judas Tree, Dangerous Revelations, and her 4th we'll be talking about is Love.com, which is a trilogy in 1 volume. Just think of The Devil in Prada meeting Monty Python. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios somewhere in beautiful California. Ladies and gentlemen, the very, very multi-talented author, Susan Bacoyanis. Susan, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Mike. Wow, what an introduction. That's terrific.
And I have to say, you've got a very impressive resume yourself as well, too. So you grew up in England pretty much all your life, and you developed a very vivid imagination as an only child, which you worked your way up to the proceedings. And of course, 2002, you moved halfway around the world to live and work in California. Right. And of course, you attended New York Film Academy, worked in Hollywood, and you also worked for a writing team. And you also have 3 books as well, and you got your 4th one, which we'll be talking about. But first, just before we ask about how you got started and what inspired you to get into writing.
Well, there was a moment, it goes back to my childhood. When I was 5 years old, my mother used to take me to the movies, and we'd go to the matinee performance, and we'd go and see all the films that she loved. So I'm going way back, Mike, when I say I sat there as a young child of 5 until I was 8 on these special afternoon trips. And I watched Pat Boone in April Love and Doris Day and Rock Hudson. And we went through all the Westerns, Magnificent Seven, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. You won't remember any of this because you're obviously far too young.
What?
But,
well, actually, I do, believe it or not. So it's like I do remember that stuff. So we'll talk about the difference later on as well, too. But, I'm ready to watch a Pat Boone movie after this, Seven Brides, Seven Brothers. And, hey, could you crank up the VCR, DVD, or Turner Classics, please? Thank you.
It was such fun. And it was pure escapism, I think, for my mother. But I actually got from all of this, I developed a passion for film. And really, the basis of my going into acting and writing was the story. Because if you think about it, there's no book or movie or play that would exist without the story. And when we're born, our lives begin with a story. And the trick is really in the development of that story and how we play our life. But, that's where we go forward. And writers are very important people.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we talked about how you got into writing, and of course, and basically, how you got started, and what was that one precise moment that influenced you to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life?
Yes, I think so. I think, as I said, it was actually having a childhood in the movies. I actually, it really developed over time, Mike. As a child, I wrote plays and poems, and I was going into acting. And then when I married and had children, I started to write short stories, and I wrote my first novel. And then that promptly went into a drawer, and then I put a whole lot more in a drawer. But then I knew that writing really was my first passion, and acting was my second. And I learnt my craft. I kept on. I was tenacious. And I don't know if you're familiar with Malcolm Gladwell. He wrote a book called The Outliers, and he writes about the 10,000 hours. And he says that if you put in your 10,000 hours, you really know your craft. You learn your craft. It's the practice. And people like the Beatles weren't, I don't know if you know, they weren't an overnight success. They worked and worked. So I think, what I did all those years, I put in my 10,000 hours. So I think the precise moment going back was actually being sort of entrapped in the movie world and enjoying the movies with my mother. And then that brought me straight into acting. And the next stage is writing. As I said, the story is the basis. And so really, I just worked and worked at that. And then I came to California, put myself into the New York Film Academy, and I did it to bring myself up with the techniques of film and TV and screenwriting. And it was a lot of fun. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you're older and you've been with a lot of 20-year-olds, because there I was in classes with 20-year-olds. And they were wonderful to me. We learned screenwriting, we did stand-up comedy, we did movies, and it was a wonderful time, worked very, very hard. And then after that, I went to work with Suzanne de Laurentiis Do you remember, or do you know De Laurentiis?
Yes, I've heard of him and his many famous movies. Of course, not personally, but I did watch some of his movies, his works, and very familiar, very, very, very amazing.
Yes, well, he, of course, did the first King Kong, and Suzanne De Laurentiis is his niece. So that was great fun, and I wrote for her school and was right in at the beginning of developing the Cinema City International Film Festival. And I also got an agent and did some acting and went back into the business, which was really something that I hadn't planned. But that was a terrific move in my life. I really enjoyed it. And where did I go from there? I think, okay, go on. I think I can only say that my precise moment really came from my mother. I will tell you a story, though, going back to the first part where I said, we watched Pat Boone movies. Mm-hmm. I was standing I went to the Society of Singers event, it's a red carpet event at the Beverly Hilton. And when I was going to get my car, the valet brought round a car before me, and it was Pat Boone's. He'd been at the event. And on the number plate, it said April Love. And I thought, my elderly mother's sitting in England having her breakfast because of the difference in time. I'll phone her and she'll be thrilled. And so I got on the phone and I said, guess what? I said, I'm standing here with Pat Boone and he's got his car and it says April Love. And I waited for her excitement. And all she said to me was, oh, that's nice, dear. How's the weather? I thought, well, she's lost her starry eyes for him, that's for sure.
Oh, my goodness. It kind of leaves you speechless, I have to say. It's like I'm at a loss for words when I think about Pat Boone. I don't know why.
Well, we're all getting older, and yeah.
Uh-huh. And of course, we talked about some of the films you saw at the theater in England. And what are some of my other favorite movies growing up?
Oh, gosh. I think I liked the drama movies because I went into drama. I mean, honestly, I went more into books. And the books I read as a child were also made into movies. So when I was a very young child, I went through all the Agatha Christie sort of, whodunits and those. And I think they, too, sort of gave me a basis of crime. And I went on, of course, to write psychological thrillers. And she was an amazing woman. I think she is the most sold author ever. And, of course, all her movies were made. But just talking about her, she played a wonderful trick on her husband. I don't know if you know. He was being unfaithful. And so this is a well-known story, actually, but if you haven't heard it, I'll tell you. Her husband was being unfaithful, and she decided to disappear for 3 days. And everyone thought that he'd killed her for the money. And the police went in and took her off. And then, of course, she reappeared and taught him the lesson of his life, I haven't done anything like that. My favorite movies, gosh, I think going back, one of them was Something's Gotta Give, because I remember Diane Keaton sitting there writing her plays, and she was sitting in her living room or an office right by the sea. And now I have that, and so I've come full circle. I sit here and in my office at my desk, and I overlook the sea, and it's something I always wanted. So that's rather special for me. There are so many different movies. I have different takes on them. I think books probably are more my thing. I have lots of authors and books that I like. I like, I don't know, Donna Tartt. I like contemporary novelists, mainly women. I like Donna Tartt. I like The Goldfinch. That was a brilliant book. And Gillian Flynn, when she wrote Gone Girl, because I write very dark novels as well. Mm-hmm. And The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. And Elizabeth Gilbert. Now, she's very interesting because she writes very good literary novels. But her fame came from writing a light-hearted comedy, which was Eat, Pray, Love. And I've more or less done the same. I've written 3 psychological thrillers, and one of them is very bloody, if I can say that, indeed. And yet now I've written a comedy, and I have to tell you, my husband says I'm nicer to live with when I'm writing comedy.
Of course, every time I think about nitwit when it comes to comedy in England is Monty Python. Nitwits themselves, but they have a good reason to do so.
Yeah. They were fun, weren't they?
Oh my gosh. It's like I could just about recite every line, it seems like. And if I had the opportunity to binge watch all the Monty Python episode, I could do that. Hey, that's one of my bucket lists to do. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Of course, that'll be another time as well too. And we'll talk about your books as well too. And who are her favorite writers? We'll find out in just 1 minute. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by well-known award-winning author Mia Moshenzia of No Time for Love called Missing, an extraordinary relationship between 2 ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and the ones you love will be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and other retailers, available on all formats today. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com and over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Amazon, Audible, coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, TuneIn, and Pandora. Also worldwide on Geo7, Radio Public, Himalaya, CastBox, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with the wonderful author Susan Bacoyanis, who's from England and worked in California, attended New York Film Academy, and joined the Suzanne de Laurentiis production team in Los Angeles on The Mike Wagner Show, and has 3 books. There Are No Accidents, The Judas Tree, Dangerous Revelations, and we'll also talk about our 4th, which is a romantic comedy called Love.com. It's a cross between Devil Wears Prada and the Bridget Jones Diary. So before we get to her latest book, your 3 thrillers, There Are No Accidents, The Judas Tree, and Dangerous Revelations. But first of all, before we get in those books, who are some of your favorite writers growing up?
Well, I think I mentioned a few contemporary ones just now that I really enjoy. And I have to read Missing. That's on my list this week.
Oh, that's right. Missing. I forgot. Mia Moshenzia is one of your favorite authors. You know what? Oh, why didn't I think of that? I'm having coffee. It's supposed to make me smart. Why didn't I think of that? That went missing from my memory bank.
Oh, dear. Okay. I love the class. Excuse me. Jane Austen, actually. Everyone probably says that. I need a little drink. Sorry, it's not wine, it's just water. Not a frog in my throat.
Have all the wine you want. It's my favorite. I prefer the White Zinfandel, Red Rosé, and what is your favorite, by the way?
Oh, I like a good Merlot, and I like Malbec, nice, rich red wine. And then I like Oyster Bay, if I'm allowed to say the make of it, which is a Sauvignon Blanc. So they're my favorites. And there's nothing quite like a glass of Prosecco. You know, I sound like a lush, don't I? But I really do enjoy wine.
You're making me thirsty for wine, and next time when I have you on the show, we got to have some wine together. So that is a must. What's that?
I was just going to say, Mike, I did have this extraordinary sort of upbringing. I was really like a young adult. Never really had very much of a childhood. I was always having to behave and be grown up. And our holidays were spent with my father driving around all the chateaux in France collecting wine. Huh. So from the age of 8, you know, I didn't really appreciate it much. But later on, I really do now. It's so it paid off. But it was interesting. It was very interesting, you know, to see them all and the process and. So there we are.
Wow, that sounds amazing. You know what? That's an idea for another book. Something involving wine. It's like Death by Wine or Live by Wine or Live and Die by Wine or something like that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's an idea for another book, but I'm sure that'll come up later as well, too. So
I'm sure it will, yes. Going back to my writers, you asked me. Yes, Jane Austen's very special to me because she actually had great insight. She got into people's heads. She wrote about the time in which she lived, and she was a fantastic judge of character. And women in those times had nothing. They didn't have any control over their lives. They couldn't buy property. They didn't have authority over their own children. And so I enjoy her work, and I think Pride and Prejudice is probably my favorite because she has the best opening line ever, which tells you directly what is in the book and what it's about. And really in those days, if a girl didn't marry well, she was going to end up an old maid dependent on a male relative. So life was very different, and she captured that time in life, the 18th century, early 19th century. And I find her very interesting, and I felt very sorry, actually, to find out that when her obituary was written by her brother, that he didn't write anything about her works of writing.
Really?
He didn't take her seriously. It wasn't important. So, thank goodness that we've evolved. I have 3 daughters, and I brought them up to be very proud of what they do and capable. They're very capable young women, because I think that's very important. So, and there were other writers. There were the Brontes and other women writers, Louisa May Alcott, who wrote Little Women. She had a hell of a life. She had a father who took off into a sort of fantasy world, and she had to write for a living, for money, to bring money in to keep the family. And, we're very lucky nowadays. We get to write hopefully for money, but we also get to write for pleasure. And it's a whole new world for women. So I look back at them and think, okay, if I can carry forward what you did and enjoy it, then thank you for laying the groundwork, because they did,
Mm-hmm. And of course, laying the groundwork indeed as well, too. And of course, writing for pleasure as well, too. You also have your 3 books as well. One is Dangerous Revelations, and of course, the other as well, too. So since we're here with Susan Bacoyanis here on the Mike Wagner Show with Dangerous Revelations, There Are No Accidents, The Judas Tree, and we'll talk about her new book. But first, your first book as well, too. Would love to hear about that. Dangerous Revelations, being part of the Mafia family. It's like, makes me think of Hotel California. Once you're part of the Mafia family, you can never leave. Check on any time you like and never leave. It kind of reminds me of like Hotel California in a Mafia world.
Yes, that's right. And when I write, I love the research. I can't mention some of the research.
Oh, you don't need to. You don't need to. You can just keep it all yourself. You don't need to broadcast it. If you want to, that's fine. But if you choose to or not to, that's fine to me. It's your call, not me. So.
Well, Mike, I'll tell you about it. The first book that I actually got published, I mean, we write lots of books as authors, and as I said, they go in the drawer. You get used to rejections, and the acting gave me plenty of practice for that, and I had loads of rejections from agents. But I finally got this, There Are No Accidents. I found an agent in London, actually, and I got it published. But what you don't know is that it was, I wrote it on a boat.
Wow.
Now, I spent 7 years of my life on a boat. After I worked with Suzanne de Laurentiis and had all these wonderful years in Hollywood, I was single again, and I went on Match.com, hence the 4th book. I'll get to that in a minute. But I did, and I finally found a wonderful man, but he happened to live on a boat.
Huh.
And I looked at the profile and I thought, oh gosh, there's this guy in the wetsuit standing there. Is this what I want? And ultimately it was. So off we went. We had a marvelous and adventurous life. And he made me a little office on the boat, and I sat there and wrote this novel. So we had 7 years in California and around the coast of Florida, down in the Keys. And I went on to write, my second book as well on the boat. So it was, I don't know how many people have written their first novel sitting, looking at the sea, but it was delightful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It has to be amazing, too. And, of course, they also have There Are No Accidents, and you can just tell us a bit about that.
Yes, it starts off as people think it's 3 different stories, but it's actually everything is linked together. As you go through the book, you'll find that the person who begins the story links up with the person who's in the second part of the story. And they're quite vicious at times. They're quite, let's say, a little bit of violence, a little bit of sex, a little bit of everything, really, love as well. That always makes a good story. But as we go through the story, it was the beginning of my linked series, and the mafia come into the last part of the book. The book, the title of the book, There Are No Accidents, I think was very important, because in life probably there aren't. We don't know, of course. Everything might be planned. We have no clue. But I enjoyed writing the book, and then it led into the next one. The next one is the Judas Tree. Now, all my books are linked together. And also what I try to do, I'm very aware of domestic abuse that women have suffered. So in each book, I put in some form of abuse in some way, whether it be emotional or verbal or physical. So that thread and that theme goes through all my books. And the Judas Tree is quite an example of that. But I've written the woman, the main protagonist, is a very dark person, and my agent couldn't get it published to start with because, you don't like her, and normally everyone wants to like the main protagonist, but this woman was very difficult to like. She was a damaged person, and I had a hard time trying to get this published, but eventually. The publisher came along, the publishing director was reading it, and I got this fantastic email from her. And she said, I'm reading the Judas Tree. She said, I've only reading the first part. And she said, it's totally outrageous, and I love it. She said, tell me it's still available. So it went on to be published with Endeavour Media, which is now Loom Books. And it's a hard read for some people. I've had my readers come back to me and say, I couldn't read it last thing at night because it was so terrifying. And so it's for the brave-hearted, let's say that. But I'm glad I wrote it because it also gives a form of abuse, but it's really about a woman who was damaged by abuse and the repercussions that can happen in life. I can't tell you because not only would it not be allowed, I don't think, it would give the story away, Mike.
Right, exactly. And of course, it's on the website as well, too, if you want to get more information on that. And also, we'll talk about your foundation as well, too. But first, it's like, you just have a really unique way of writing things. It's like, writing process, character, plot, and all that. It's just like everything coming together, and the way you describe it, it is so unique. And how does that differ from the other authors?
I think it differs a lot because the link I put in my books, between my books, is an unexpected link. It ties up the people, and you don't really know it's happening until you begin the book. And that's what I did. I mean, Dangerous Revelations is also linked to that. And that, we're really involved in the mafia in that. And it's about a woman who gives her life in flashbacks. She tells her life to the woman who was in There Are No Accidents, who is her biographer. I can tell you that much. Mm-hmm. And the sister of the woman in the Judas Tree. So everything links in odd ways. And that's and also it's wonderful. I love the research because we jump from America, parts of America, New York, in the 70s, where the mafia were operating, and then the gangs, and the beginning of the Russian mafia at that time, to Italy, southern Italy. And what I do, I weave real events that happened with what the mafia did into the books, into the fictional side of the books. And so it makes it really exciting. And I always leave an open end. I want to leave my readers wanting more. So, I will write another one in the linked series on the psychological thriller series, and they're a lot of fun. But,
it sounds like a lot of fun too, and of course you've got one coming up, and you also have a romantic comedy. But tying all this in, there are no accidents, the Judas Tree, and Dangerous Revelation, and of course there's no excuse for abuse, and you also have a foundation as well too, where you're letting people make a difference, and there's no excuse for abuse, and you're basically an advocate of it. And maybe tell us a little bit about the foundation.
Yes, it's not actually a foundation. What I do is give part of the royalties to an abuse center in the Keys. What I decided to do is as I say, let's make a difference. I have this information on my website, and I outline that all kinds of abuse are unacceptable. I have suffered some emotional and verbal abuse in a relationship once, but I've had friends who have had a terrible time. And what I did was I wanted to draw awareness. Now, one of the things, going back to There Are No Accidents, when I drew awareness to abuse in that book and it went through the others, a remarkable thing happened. I had readers writing to me, and I had readers at Q&As, question and answer sessions, coming up to me, and there was one particular woman said, I have suffered for years, and she had run away from her husband. She'd had a terrible time. And she said, reading the book really helped me to move on in my life because you wrote what I lived. And she said, I could read it in fiction and say, okay, I can leave my problems there and move on. And I had no idea that my books would have that effect. But it seems that fiction, a bit like, I suppose, art therapy, does help people to deal with it. And I think it's quite remarkable that this has happened. I don't know if you ever heard of anything like that before.
Mm-hmm. I know some people that have been through it, and I've had some friends, I've had some associates, and I hear stories all the time about abuse and whatsoever. And also, I've been I have people on that had PTSD or know someone that suffered from PTSD. That's another type. I don't know if I call it abuse, but it's also the effects of abuse, which causes PTSD. And so yes, it's like I've been more talking about that and making people more aware about that, the abuse and things that go on, and most importantly,
Can I mention just one thing?
Yes.
Can I mention one thing, just to interrupt you? In Dangerous Revelations, I wanted to give witness to these people who've suffered, so I slotted what had happened to them. I slotted them into the books. But particularly with Dangerous Revelations, I was sitting on the boat and I was listening to the BBC. I was listening to Radio 4 and the BBC. And this woman was interviewed, and the interview made me cry. She had been through the most terrible time. She had been thrown out of an upstairs window by a very abusive man. Oh. And she was permanently physically damaged, and I cried when I heard it. It was so terrible. And I thought, okay, I'm going to give witness to this woman. And I have a little piece in the front of the book, a testimony. And I can't find out who she is, but I say where I heard it. And I do weave that incident into the story, because people should know that these things happen, they're real. And I just wanted to mention that one, Mike.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. I'm glad you brought that up. And most importantly, how can people help?
People can help by awareness. They can help by giving money to basically the shelters, the children and women who are hiding in the shelters. But the main thing is that I say to women is talk about it. Once you talk about it, these people who are the abusers, they're bullies. They can't keep it a secret. Once it's out in the open, people are aware. So anyone going through anything like this, tell your friends, tell your doctor, go to the therapist, shout it from the top of the building, tell everyone, because once it's out there, the abuse is you can control it, you can stop it, you can be safe. And that's the most important thing of all.
Mm-hmm. And what is the website, and where do people go for more information?
Well, my website will give you information on books and places to go. So if you go to my page, Let's Make a Difference, and scroll down, you'll find a load of information about what to do, what to look out for, and various organizations to contact.
Mm-hmm. And of course, that's very important as well, too. And we'll talk about her latest novel, Love.com, a romantic comedy and more. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by a well-known award-winning author, Mia Motion Zia, of No Time for Love, called Missing, an extraordinary relationship between two ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and the ones you love be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and other retailers, available on all formats today. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com and over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartradio. Also on Anchorfm, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Amazon, Audible. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. And heard worldwide on Geo7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with the terrific, multi-talented author Susan Bacoyanis here on The Mike Wagner Show, talking about her upbringing in England, also moving halfway around the world to live and work in California, then to New York, and currently Los Angeles. She wrote 3 psychological thrillers. There Are No Accidents, The Judas Tree, Dangerous Revelations, talking about There's No Excuse for Abuse, and leading up to the romantic comedy Love.com, which is a cross between Devil Wears Prada, Bridget Jones' Diary, and let's talk more about that. This looks very, very interesting.
Well, this was fun, Mike. It was a labor of love, actually, and it was originally 3 books. And my agent said, no, 1,800, sort of 1,800 words is too many. So it had to be 1,020 odd. So I had to edit it right down, which is something most writers don't like to do. But we have a little bit for a sequel, I suppose. So that's the way that goes. But it was so much fun because I said I met my last husband on Match.com. My present husband, sorry, to put this way. And before that, I did a lot of dating on Match.com, and I had a lot of fun. And really, the people I met, some of the dates were so hilarious. The people were amusing and odd that I thought, I have to write this down. I have to jot this down. And of course, some of it has a basis of truth. Now, I'm sure some of the people I knew will buy the book and think, am I in it? We'll search for them. But
you said what?
I have
You're like, I did that.
Changed it. I have, at some points, I have changed it slightly. And I think, actually, that people don't recognize themselves when they're in a book. I think we don't. So I'm hoping that's the case. But no, seriously, I changed the names and everything else. But I can give you one example, if you like. What I used to do was, we have an email, and anyone who's ever dared to date will go through this process. And then you have a phone call. And there was one person I phoned, and I can say, he was a cosmetic surgeon. So we got on the phone, and he sort of said, well, have you ever had any work done? So I said, well, no, not yet, as you do. And he said, because if you have, if you're lying to me, I'll know. Now, I'll ask you again. He said to me, have you got any scars? Have you had any work done? Because I can't abide liars, he said. And I thought, this is the first couple of sentences of a date? I mean,
What do you know about the nose?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, my gosh. Oh.
But, there are a lot of strange people out there, but there are a lot of fun people, too. And dating can be fun, and there was a story here, but there is also a story weaving, throughout the book. It's really a journey of a woman's journey of self-discovery. And as I said, if you've read the book or seen the movie, The Devil Wears Prada, which is a great movie. And it's like a mix between that and a 2016 version of Bridget Jones's Diary, if you're familiar with that. And this is, it's a fun book with a real story. And a little bit also like Sex and the City. There's some of that in it too. And it's fun. And when you're writing comedy, it's so different because you're sitting there chuckling away to yourself, but you don't know that it's going to make anyone else laugh. So, I feed it out to friends and my agent, and we see how it goes. So, they tell me it's funny. So I hope in this time where we're all locked down that people will read it and they'll find it funny and it'll lighten their day.
It sounds like a lot of fun. And where can we find love.com at?
You can find all my books on Amazon. Yep. And you can go to my website. On my website, it's my name, www.susanbacoyanis.com. You can press on the links. They'll take you straight to Amazon anywhere, UK or US. And there they are. And, it's. I hope it's a read for Christmas. It would be fun for people and fun for me to see it circulating.
Or going into 2021 as well, too, and beyond. Oh, and speaking of 2021, you've got another book that's going to be coming soon called Perfection Imperfection. And tell us more about that.
Yes, actually. Yes. Now, Mike, there was something I forgot to mention. Can I go back to that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's actually your show. It's like I'm not the focus on the show. It's you. So if you want to throw in something, want to throw in dating story, want to talk about your pets, want to talk about wherever you want, go right ahead.
Well, I'm going to talk about someone who got me through the bad times and the good times, and that's Rod Stewart. Because I used to play his songs when I went through my last divorce, and I play his songs when I feel happy. So what I did, the protagonist in Love.com is called Lucy, and she has the same thing. She's obsessed by him, and she plays his songs. So the original books that I wrote, I had the songs in there where she was bursting into song, and they were playing songs in each book. And my agent said, no, we can't do this because of the licensing. So I had to just leave in the suggestion of the songs. So all I'm going to say now, if I can say this, Mike, is Rod Stewart, if you're out there, if you're listening, contact me.
Of course, yeah. If you want to sing Rod Stewart, that's fine. If Rod Stewart happens to call in, I'll just say, hey, I'd love to have you on the show. You guys can sing along. And yeah, I guess Rod can ask a question. Do you still think I'm sexy? Maybe he'd be asking you, himself, me, or the listeners. As I can imagine that.
I've alluded to that song in the book, but the fun thing is that if it went on to a movie or a show, it would be a lot of fun because he had one stage musical where his songs were in, and it didn't do too well, but this would be fantastic, and it would be a dream of mine come true. So that's an important part of it, and it's aimed also, Mike, I have to say, at middle-aged women. Now, where you put middle-age nowadays, I think it's much higher than it used to be. This might be wasted on the young, let's put it like that, because it's about a middle-aged woman who dares to date again. And so, there are a lot of people out there who would really identify with this time in their life. So it's for them.
Mm-hmm. And of course, middle age back then, it was 30s, 40s, 50s, and then, go back 10, 20 years, 40, 50, 60, now 50, 60, 70. Now it's just like with social media in today's society, it's almost like, who knows? Males just pick a number and just throw it out there, just throw a dart at the dartboard and just have it land on a number or something, or like bingo or something.
Well, I so agree with you. And actually, the book cover of Love.com is so much fun that if you look at her, and she is middle-aged, the woman on the front of the cover, then, there's hope for all of us, Mike. I think.
And certainly so, too. And, of course, we can all find your books as well, too. And this also leads up to Perfection, Imperfection, a heartfelt story of imperfect love. And tell us about that upcoming book for 2021.
Yes. I've called it Perfect Imperfection because it's about a woman. It's a standalone book, this one. I don't think it's going to be linked. It's not a psychological thriller. As I said, it's a heartfelt book about a woman who tries to be perfect. And as we go through the book, events happen that unravel her perfection. And we begin to see her imperfections and how it affects her life. And the whole story, as it unravels, makes her, she becomes more human, because I really think that our imperfections are the things we love in other people. That's what makes them unique, and it makes them real. And so that is her story. And I always put a little bit of humor in. I haven't brought the mafia in. I've left them out of this one. But it's an interesting story. It does. Most of my books go out of the country, so this is set, a little bit of it set in Paris and in France. I do bring a chateau into that, a winery, if you like, so one of the wine chateaus. So I have got the wine in there, just a little, actually. But yes, I'm really excited about it. It's a lovely story, and I hope, I can do it justice. And I love writing. It's my passion. I'm at my happiest. And you can probably tell by the tone of my voice that that's where my heart is.
I can certainly tell. And when can we expect Perfect Imperfection to come out in 2021? Whenabouts?
Sorry, say it again. Whereabouts did you say?
Yeah, I said when in 2021.
When? Probably the end, Mike, because I don't let a book go until I'm really happy with it. I mean, as most authors know, I do about 8 edits. That's what I do for different things. Then it goes to my agent, and he'll edit, and you always miss things. And then it goes to the publisher, and they edit. So by the time I've finished the book and we've gone through the editing process, and we wait sort of a couple of months, it'll probably be this time next year. So a bit of a long wait. But hey, there are 4 other books people can read in the meantime, and laugh in these dark times to love.com. So there we are.
and of course, we all know by now what you've done during the pandemic, and I think that is just amazing, Susan. And so looking forward to it. We're here with author Susan Bacoyanis here on the Mike Wagner Show of There Are No Accidents, The Judas Tree, Dangerous Revelations, and her 4th novel, Love.com, all on Amazon as well, too. We'd love to have you back on in 2021 and beyond, and maybe 2022, 23. Who knows what's going to happen, and what else can we expect from you coming up in 2021 and beyond besides your 5th book?
I have another one, actually, a story that is a love story. So that will come out. I think it's going to be called The Butterfly. So I have my mother died last year, which was rather sad, obviously, for me. She was 91, bless her heart. She read my books. She was a huge supporter, and she's the one who started all this by taking me to the movies all those years ago. So the most wonderful thing that happened was that just before we had the funeral, it was last winter, and it was in England, and I was in the room upstairs in my daughter's house waiting to get ready and go. And a butterfly in late, it was the end of November, came right up to the window and tried to get in. And it stayed, and I couldn't get the window open. It stayed in the eaves for a while, and then it went. And someone said to me, that happened to me when my mother died. And it's supposed to be, the butterfly epitomizes a transition, I think, or transformation. And it was a lovely moment. So I have called this book, I think it will be The Butterfly, for moments like that, because it's a love story. Yes.
And I'm so looking forward to it. Love to have back on in 2021 and beyond. And just keep us up to date. And just a few more things, Susan. Who do you consider your biggest influence in your career?
Who did you say, or what?
Who do you consider your biggest influence in your career? Yes, who? Not just an hour about who, but who.
Oh, okay. There are several people. I think my mother, to start with because she always supported me. And my children and my husband. But my children can't read my books. They've started, but they hear my voice the whole time. So they really have tried, but they are a huge support. My husband is a wonderful support. He's also a writer. He writes fiction and biographies. And maybe you should have him on the show sometime, Mike. He's tremendous. And he has been a huge support. And, you know, he gives me the time to write. And honestly, he gave me the boat to write on. So what more could a girl want, really?
Wow, that's amazing. You know something? If you made a lot of money off the book, maybe you can purchase a second book, Him and Hers, and more money, Him, Hers, and each boat for your daughter.
Yes. Now, Mike, I have a question for you.
Absolutely.
You're so interesting. Has anyone interviewed you for your show?
I've actually had several, but nothing on a national grand scale yet. And, of course, it's been mainly about my career and whatever else. And, of course, you know, you can interview me at any time. So as you get a podcast set up, I'll be glad to be a guest. So we'll do that.
I'd love to do that because you bring 30 years of broadcasting and all kinds of wonderful work into the forefront. I can get the word out. So
forefront, yeah.
Forefront, that's it. Yes. Well, thank you so much for highlighting my books. And
I appreciate it, and I'd love to have your husband on, but we'll talk about that when we're off the air. And lastly, what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Anybody or any writer?
Anybody. And writers.
Anybody. Oh, be kind, be happy. Kindness is the greatest gift. So that's what I would say. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that is very good advice. Once again, author Susan Bacoyanis of There Are No Accidents, Dangerous Revelations, The Judas Tree, and OutrightNowLove.com on the Mike Wagner Show. Susan, very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Learned a lot from you. Looking forward to having you on soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on in 2021 and beyond. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase your books?
Okay, my website is www.susanbacoyanis.com, and they can purchase my books by hitting a button on my website or go directly to Amazon. Go to books on Amazon, put in my name. My name is unique. I am the only person with this name in the United States and the only person in England. So put in Susan Bacoyanis and my books will come up. And what was the other thing you asked me, Mike?
Where to purchase your books or check them out?
Oh, well, that was it. Yes, Amazon, basically. So you can get a paperback, you can get or an ebook, Kindle, either. Yes.
That sounds very good. We will do so. Once again, Susan, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely great. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on in 2021 and beyond. And don't forget to stay in touch. I'd love to hear more of what you got. And let's have some wine.
Yes, let's have some wine. Thank you, Mike. Clink, clink.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hi, this is Mia Mohsen Zia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based upon a real-life relationship, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon. Do read it. I'm sure you'll love it. It's www.miamohsenzia.com and www.amazon.com/Mia Mohsen Zia.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.